Hi there, welcome to ILM Fly Tarot. I'm going to do a tarot card reading for Cancer energy. And I have to redo my Cancer and my Capricorn reading because there was no volume. And it's kind of strange because I had that happen with like an Aquarius and a Leo recently. And I don't know. I hadn't had problems for like a year. And all of a sudden, all these problems with, I guess, making sure things are plugged in correctly. And so the whole idea is all of that can be part of the reading and the energy going on. So I'm redoing the readings and kind of curious to see how the message might have changed since the reading I did before. And we're going to read it from a couple different perspectives because everyone taps into Cancer energy, and Cancer energy can be about love of self, love of others, willing to do love. And everybody's kind of at different emotional maturity levels in their, how much time they invested into kind of growing and healing themselves emotionally. Some people don't want to do love. Some people love, but have illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. Some people are just looking for people to love them, and it's more about them. Some people like to be in more codependent relationships because they're more codependent. Some of them love the world, love the ego and the image and the status of it, but don't really want to do love. You can get hurt doing love. And then some people, they just like to live more from their mind than their heart. And shadowy Cancer energy that people can harness, regardless of what zodiac sun sign they are, can be they just like to use their emotions more manipulatively, but not authentically. So, what's going on in Cancer energy? This is the overarching reason for the reading, which is the Tower. Some people see the truth, they wake up to the truth, they realize some of the things they've been doing or people they've invested in or things they've been investing in within themselves, it isn't working, and they're willing to deal with the truth. And when some people are willing to deal with the truth, heal and grow and mature themselves, choose to love themselves, love is to be just and fair. You're supposed to treat other people the way you like to be treated. When some people realize the truth, they detach from other foundations and ways of looking at life and living life, and then will probably detach from some people in their life that they could have been in friendships or relationships with when they didn't see the truth. And we'll all repeat certain patterns until some truth at the heart of the reading is the moon, some illusion we see through, some fear, something we kept buried beneath the surface. And at the end of the story is the Page of Swords, that I have my truth. And if I'm being truthful and authentic and just and fair, I deserve to be in relationships with people who treat me that way. And I need to see the truth. Who in my life is speaking the truth? And who are the people who are trying to confuse me about the truth of who they are, or trying to make me not love and believe in myself? So, we start out with two cards not showing itself. The Seven of Cups and the Empress energy. And the Empress energy, can talk about love. We can all have been more codependent, is what the pages can talk about, where we were still looking for other people to love us, but we hadn't really learned to love ourselves. And then when we're kind of in that energy, kind of unstable, because we have rejected loving ourselves, we will look to other people to play that role in our life. Like a mother figure. Won't you love me because I haven't learned to love myself? And then we get in relationships with other people who are happy we're in that energy because they maybe haven't learned to love themselves either, and they're looking for someone to love them. And sometimes we can get in those relationships with people. We've all been at these different ages in our life, 15, 18, 21, 25. And with some of those relationships that we get in with people, we can be loving and encouraging to each other. And it can be kind of a good relationship for quite a long time. Some of those relationships keep moving forward because out of love, and during the process of learning to love ourselves, in turn, having love for that person, we keep putting in work and effort. That's like the Eight of Pentacles. We keep putting in work and effort. In the Eight of Wands, we're inspired to move forward. In the Hierophant can represent all these different institutions of the world, a workplace, a friendship, a family dynamic, a romantic relationship. We're inspired to move forward and put work and effort into it, though we might have some fears and insecurities, though we might have been hiding that we were more codependent or looking to other people to love us. With some of the people in our life, we're appreciative that we have found someone who's inspired to work together with us, and partly because some other relationships that we could have been in didn't work out. And some of the other people that we could have thought were more loving people or would be more just or fair or act with character and integrity, because the Empress energy is Libra energy and Taurus energy, which we're looking, Libra represented by the scales of justice, Taurus energy about act with character and integrity and really be who they say they are. We've all been in friendships and relationships and could have grown up with people that we thought would be more just, more fair, more loving, in truth, work together with us in truth and love. And we've all had some relationships that didn't work out to be that way. And so then we were kind of inspired to get in different friendships, relationships, or jobs. And we could have some fears about moving forward in the next job, friendship, or relationship because some other relationships didn't work out. But if we're all willing to work together and willing to listen to our intuition, is what the moon can talk about, and we're willing to put in work and effort, and we're inspired to put in work and effort to not like sabotage the relationship, we learn that we have to quit investing. Sagittarius of the Eight of Wands is about higher learning and education. We learn that if I want this to move forward, I can't sabotage the relationship. I can't, in the Tower card, be unjust, unfair, immature, prideful, egotistical, selfish, all about myself, or it's probably not going to work out, right? And hopefully, as we go through these life experiences, we learn to not invest in repeating some poor past patterns. Harnessing these energies in a shadowy way can be being more immature, more codependent, wanting to be in a relationship or have a job just to be in a relationship or have a job, but we still haven't learned the lesson that maybe we need to heal or grow and mature ourselves or treat other people the way we like to be treated or be more just and fair and loving and temper our more immature nature. And the truth is, with some of the people we can get in friendships and relationships with or workplaces, some of those people, along with us, see that truth and they're all kind of interested. The Seven of Pentacles, just like the Hierophant, and part of the Empress is Taurus energy, that, if you're going to work together with other people, everybody should be putting in work and effort. It's not like one person puts in work and effort and the other people kind of just get to indulge themselves in it, or, and so everybody's willing to emotionally grow and mature themselves. And the feminine figures can talk about how people think and feel. Everybody realizes that I need to emotionally invest in, loving myself, being inspired to put in work and effort, not to sabotage myself by indulging poor behavior in myself or indulging poor behavior in others. Everyone has to emotionally invest in the Five of Cups, working through regrets of the past, and, keep being inspired to put in this work and effort to not repeat more immature ways of being and to invest in continuing to put in this work to move things forward in truth and love. And right now, some of you probably have some people in your life that, whether they're an adult child of yours, if they're a brother, a sister, a mom, a dad, a neighborhood person, people that you work with, whatever, some of those people are willing to work together with you and you with them because we feel, listening to our intuition, that everybody's kind of inspired to put in this work and effort to emotionally grow and mature themselves, to not be more immature or more defensive or more just repeating some poor past patterns that will end in regret, right? And those are the people we keep moving forward with. And then there can be some people in the family, in the neighborhood, in the community, in the workplace, that some of the more high vibe people are kind of defensive to, because those people could harness these energies in a more shadowy way. Some of them people have already cut out of their life because they thought those people would be more just and fair. And now they could be working with new people. You know, it's life, right? You have certain people at different stages of your life and different areas of your life that you're working with. Some of the people were more loving. Some of those people left or aren't in your life anymore. They could have moved on to a different job, gotten in different friendships and relationships. We can sometimes feel that some of the people who were more just and fair and loving just aren't in our environment anymore. Well, then we get inspired to invest in the people in our life who we think are kind of on that same page and work together with them, right? And even if some of the people that we had previously been in a relationship with, if those people, it's not like they just moved or passed away, but maybe some of those people we found out weren't being very just and fair. Well, then we might have cut those people out of our life, and we could have regrets. The Seven of Cups and the Five of Cups is Scorpio energy, which can talk about we have these complex emotions about people, and we can have conflicting emotions about people. But if we know that some people aren't inspired to work together with us and aren't investing in us, well, then we might have to work through some of our illusions we had about those people, because at one time we maybe thought, kind of our truth was the same. And then it seems like our truth isn't the same. And so the Page of Swords can represent all three of the air signs: Libra, Aquarius, and Gemini. Gemini can be about the truth of ultimately what drives and motivates us, love, or more about ourself or the world. Aquarius energy can be about the dreams that we have and how we envision moving forward in life and kind of what we view as victorious and successful. Again, more motivated by love or more about the world or staying in our comfort zone or being more about themselves. And Libra can be about, we can all have these different ideas of what we think is just and fair and how to conduct ourselves in relationships, and these different viewpoints and our dualistic nature of free will of what we think is just and fair. And I think high vibe people have probably communicated their truth in high vibe. When someone is holding the one pentacle, it can mean truth and love. And the Page of Swords can be communication. Some people have already communicated their truth and love to some people in their life. I would like to work together with you. I would like to get along in a just and fair way. And if some of those people aren't working together with you in that way, you have to kind of accept the truth, even though we might not want to accept it. But we have to deal with the truth because the truth sets us free. I don't want to keep focusing on people in my past who aren't working together with me cooperatively in love. Am I going to keep staying stuck in that energy? That's not just, it's not fair. So I wish people truth and peace and love and joy, but if they're not sometimes we don't know what their truth is. We don't know some of them, what drives and motivates them, or if they're more immature, or they're more stubborn, or more bossy, or more materialistic, or more codependent, or more caught up in the illusion of the world. These cards in shadow can be that they're more inspired to make their life and caught up more in the illusion of the world, or their more worldly nature, and the foundation they operate from isn't love. It's more important to have a certain status or image, or have it more about me, or try to manipulate people or control people, or people to indulge me, or I want to indulge in these certain things of the world that I think will make me happy. That's my truth. So if you've communicated your truth in love, some of those people, they know your truth. You might not know their truth, but they're not working together with you because they know your truth. And they know that's not their truth. In order to work together with some more high vibrational people in their life, they'd have to reveal the truth. It can't be more about them, or the ego, or the image, or them indulging themselves in the relationship, or being in the relationship for these other reasons. They would have to detach from that more worldly view of life, and they'd have to invest in emotionally growing and maturing themselves and seeing the truth that it's supposed to be about love. But that requires you work through some of these things from your past that could tempt you to not want to do love, or because you haven't healed from those things, it keeps them stuck. And for some, it's just that they haven't learned to love themselves, and they may choose to never love themselves. And it's always not wanting to see the truth that they are supposed to invest in loving themselves and working through these regrets of the past. Because people in their pride and ego can say, well, I could work through some of those issues from my past and see the truth of them. See where I contributed to some of those relationships not working out. See the truth about some other people I was working with that I thought were just or fair or loving. And see that, those people were where they were at. They could have had good qualities and not such good qualities. But some people have a harder time working through these conflicting feelings and emotions they have for people. I loved them. I hated them. I looked up to and admired them, but they were bossy or controlling, or they were manipulative, or they were tried to use money to try to manipulate and control people, or it was all about presenting an illusion in the world about the type of person you were, and nobody was really more authentic and loving. And some people have a harder time working through that, the emotional confusion they have about different people in their life that they had love for. And so some people can decide, no, I'm not going to deal with it. I'm just, in my pride and ego, I can decide I don't think I have to deal with it. I think everything will be okay. I'm just going to do this. So they never deal with the truth. And it keeps manipulating them. But they might not want to see the truth about how some of these issues in their life, or from their past, or people in their life, or people from that they had been in their life, because they don't want to work through the emotional confusion of it, they kind of keep repeating certain patterns because the truth sets them free, but they're not willing to see the truth. So they could kind of keep having things not quite work out the way they want because of maybe their defensiveness, their fear, their codependency, their immaturity, their more worldly nature, their egoic nature, their materialistic nature, thinking they can control things, thinking they'll be happy if they just make their lives about these things. But the truth is, from the 8 to the 7, they kind of get them, it's like looking to things to be the answer to make them happy, but they keep not wanting to see the truth. They're not investing in truth and love, or getting in situations more for the image or the status or the codependency, with people who they think you're the answer, or I'm going to drink you or eat you or pop you or whatever, and I'm sure you're going to be the answer. And they keep not wanting to see the truth. Those things aren't the answer. And some people, just like some people can abuse drugs and alcohol to be the answer, some people get in relationships with people thinking you are supposed to be the answer to my problems. I don't have to invest in working through these issues. Like, I get in a relationship with someone and then it's supposed to magically go away if you're the right person. Well, they have these issues within themselves, kind of buried in the foundation of who they are, that some people don't want to deal with. And they think, no, 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 I can just move forward in a new job, friendship, or relationship. I don't have to deal with those things. I'll just present myself a certain way. That can be the Hierophant. I'll present myself as this more stable, grounded pillar of society or whatever, or having a certain status or image. And if I have that, there's going to be other people who want to invest in me and get in a relationship with me, but they're just creating an illusion. It's not really the truth of who they are. And then people can invest in them just like an employer can invest in hiring someone for a job. But if that person is hiding, oh, by the way, I'm kind of immature. Yeah, that's why the last job didn't work out, you know? Oh, by the way, I create the illusion that I'm more motivated and inspired to work here than I really am. I kind of really like to do the bare minimum. And I might have unique talent, skills, and interest or education, or I might look a certain way or have certain skill set. But oh, by the way, it's just an illusion. I'm not really motivated and inspired within myself to more authentically invest in it. We all know the difference between people, like in a job setting. It doesn't matter what job. You can look at anything from the people at the grocery store to the people to the coffee shop to the people at the dentist or the nurse hospital, right? You can see the people who seem to really enjoy their job and they're motivated and inspired by their job. They like their job. And, you know, they are interested to put in work and effort because they certainly don't want it to end because they like it. But sometimes those people too can work with people who are more immature, more stubborn, more bossy, more immature, hurtful, unkind. Well, eventually those people aren't going to want to stay there because, hey, I know what kind of person I am and I know the work and effort I put into being like a good employee, just like people being a good friend, being a good relationship partner. Eventually those people aren't going to want to stay there if more of the people surrounding them are in a more shadowy energy than being motivated and inspired to work together more in a just and fair and a more emotionally mature way. Eventually the high vibe people are going to be like, there could be a lot of things I like about this. The same way people in a friendship group or a romantic relationship or, but if things don't change, I'm going to feel like maybe people use try to take advantage of my more loving nature, my work ethic, my being motivated to want to get along with other people where they kind of want me to indulge them in poor behavior. And if it's romantic, it's like I would feel like I'm missing an opportunity in love because I feel like the people I'm invested in don't really want to do love. They want to use their Cancer energy, their emotional nature, in a more shadowy way, which is kind of using their emotions kind of manipulatively or trying to manipulate your loving nature to get you to indulge them, but they're either more immature and kind of indulging themselves in the relationship, but not really emotionally investing themselves in it. So, shadowy Scorpio can be that it seems more superficial and shallow. It isn't becoming a more deep, meaningful relationship, which is high vibe Scorpio energy. That a lot of things about it can seem just and fair and stable and abundant in a lot of ways. but you kind of feel that the other people are more about the status in the ego and the image, and that's more the driving factor. Because if you're especially in a romantic relationship and people are not willing to invest emotionally in it, even if you could be married and have children, but they never let themselves more emotionally invest in it, it never becomes a more deep, meaningful relationship. Both people have to be willing to emotionally invest in it. One person can put in a lot of work and effort to make it look victorious and successful, and in a lot of ways be victorious and successful, and more just and fair and creative and inspired and loving. And loving people freely give of themselves. And so sometimes we get in relationships with people and we don't realize that we harness these energies differently, but we think we harness them the same way. You could get in a more mismatched relationship where someone can be loving and nurturing and encouraging and supportive, and they want to be in the relationship and they enjoy the relationship, and could put in some work and effort for the stability and the security and all that. But eventually you kind of get down to a core foundational truth. And it is kind of more being invested in it for kind of all the perks of being in it and the stability and the security, but not really rejecting harnessing these energies in a high vibe way. I do not want to align with my more hopeful, believing, loving nature and balanced nature to do a more deep, meaningful relationship. I'm kind of tipped in favor of being more in it. So it looks like I have what other people have, where both people are motivated and inspired by love, but I'm kind of in a more mismatched relationship. You're maybe more authentic and loving, and I'm kind of more about these things of the world, and I think that's just and fair. It kind of works for both of us. And it can work for both people for quite a long time, but eventually the people who are more motivated by love feel like they're missing an opportunity in love. It has all these things of the world, and I kind of do view the sevens as kind of the tipping point, where ultimately you kind of have to see the truth that some people are more in it more for these things of how it benefits them or the worldly reasons, and other people are more tipped in favor of it wanting to be more about love. And that's kind of the Seven of Pentacles and the Queen of Pentacles and the Hierophant, I all view as Taurus energy. And Taurus has to do with our truth and our philosophy of life, of why we invest in things and people. And the truth is that some people, it is more like, is this a good investment? Would this be good for my ego and my image and my status? Is this person, if people are looking for people who are more codependent, they want to get in a relationship with someone where I'll be like the parent, you be like the child. I'll be like the boss, you be like the employee, even though it's like a friendship or a relationship. And that is kind of the type of relationship dynamic they like. And I think we've all been more codependent. And we can all get in relationships, but the people who, though, still have more hope and faith and belief and love, feel like we could all be more codependent, but hopefully as time goes by, hopefully we're loving and encouraging and supportive of each other, that hopefully we all emotionally grow up and mature ourselves and work through some of these issues of the past to free ourselves from it. And then the one, when it's one pentacle, one sword, or one cup, whatever, it can mean like we close out an old chapter and we move forward differently. We work through some things. And now we're ready to kind of shed an old layer of ourselves. And the Empress is about also giving birth to like a new you emotionally. So with my nesting dolls over there, they kind of represent shedding an old version of ourselves to give birth to the next version of ourselves, just like we shed being 15 years old mentality to be more like an 18-year-old. And then we shed that layer of ourselves to become more like a 21-year-old, because we were inspired to work through our fears and our insecurities to keep growing ourselves to our full potential, where we detach from a more immature way and we invest in being a more emotionally mature person, because we kind of know that if we don't, we're probably going to be left in regret, because we do let our fear and our insecurity and our defensiveness and our immaturity kind of run our life. And then it kind of also wears on our self esteem over time, because we know that we're kind of not facing our fears to step out of our comfort zone and be more confident within ourselves. And we can be in friendships and relationships with people, and they can kind of be loving and encouraging to us. We can be loving and encouraging to them, but then it can get to where one person has kind of worked through some issues and is ready to move forward differently, and the other person isn't. Well, are we inspired to, everybody has to decide, am I willing to invest in going to that next phase or stage of the relationship, or am I not? And we can always get in jobs, friendships, and relationships, and we also have to be willing to admit when we realize, wait a minute, I don't think this is my truth. You're going, not everything, Scorpio, the way I kind of view Scorpio is that, I do want to explore the mysteries of life and myself and others and learn lessons in life. But sometimes I am going to take the wrong path, like, oh my gosh, I think, instead of this job or this career, I think I want to go try out this. Maybe this is more aligned with my truth. And then when we go down that path, we also have to be willing to say, wait a minute, I kind of think that if I keep going down this path, this isn't the right path. And we have to be willing to get out of our, the whole big thing is to get out of our pride and ego and not get so caught up in the pride and the ego. Like, I'm not willing to admit that, no, I went and did that. I thought I'd really like that, but that was not my truth. It's just like, some people could think they want to go be a nurse, and you could even become a nurse, but it's like, that is really, you know, I don't want to be creating an illusion in a relationship that I'm in or a workplace. And it's really hard to go to and be in a relationship or a workplace when it's not really aligned with your truth. So, also high vibe people are willing to not let their more immature egoic nature run their life. I learned some lessons. That's not for me, and they're truthful about it. But I learned some valuable life lessons. I'm not going to go try to get another job in that kind of career field. Or if I learned that I thought someone was a certain type of person and I invested in them and I found out they're not, I'm not going to, if they showed me the truth of who they were, I'm not going to go invest in them again, because I could have seen our truth is different. And again, what they want to invest their time, energy, and effort into, what their idea of the dream life or dream relationship means to them, what they think is just and fair, their emotional maturity level or lack thereof, if they've healed, if they haven't, And though we're sad, high vibe people listen to their intuition, and their intuition is telling them this is not aligned with my truth. This is not going to be the safe, stable, secure environment I thought it was. So I'm inspired to, high vibe Taurus is like, stand up for my truth and invest in my truth. Even though I might have fear, I'm going to work through my fears. I'm going to walk the talk. I'm going to detach from what is not aligned with my truth. And if that's just within me, that I had certain habits or whatever that I thought if I went and indulged in those things, it would make me happy. And I realize it's kind of not the right path. I need to see the truth of it. And then I quit investing in that and I choose to learn the lesson I was meant to learn. I work through the regrets. I'm a fallible human being who makes mistakes. I could have hurt others, others could have hurt me. I can only take responsibility for me, Everybody else has to take responsibility for them. Again, I think high vibe people are willing to admit when they made a mistake. I had lessons to learn. I had growing up and maturing to do because they've seen the truth that if I act from a place of love and character and integrity, it doesn't mean that still things are going to work out the way that I want, but I have a clear conscience. And then it's up for everybody else to do what they want to do. So we accept the truth. The people in our life who we do think are working together with us in an authentic, just, fair, loving way, acting with character and integrity, we keep working with those people. We work through mourning the loss of people who didn't want to work together with us in that way. And same way, there could be some employers right now that have been wanting people to move forward with them in a certain way. And as time goes by, they kind of see who does and who doesn't, and that could be when employers tell some of the employees, I'm sorry, you know, we don't think this is working. You don't really seem to, because again, just like in a workplace and same way in a relationship, you're looking for people who are motivated within themselves to want to put in the work and effort, not because someone is trying to make them put in the work and effort. Because again, like high vibe people in a relationship from love, they freely give of themselves because they're motivated and inspired by love and they know how to fill their own cup emotionally because they invest in being inspired within themselves from love to love themselves, work through their own issues to give to other people, and then they can get in relationships with people who are exactly the opposite and wanted you to give to them in that way, but they don't really want to give to you in that way. And they think that's just and fair. And eventually the other people say, I don't think that's just and fair. And I need to stand up for my more authentic, hopeful, believing, loving nature from people who I don't think are really operating from truth and love. And you have your idea of what you think is just and fair. And though I'm sad this isn't working out, I can't keep doing that. So, if you want to do that or recreate that or repeat that with someone else, that's up to you. But I'm going to invest in my truth, and from a place of love, I will be able to have a new beginning and free myself from this emotionally. And the people who are maybe a little more stubborn or immature or bossy or controlling or prideful or self indulgent or more materialistically motivated or whatever it is, or codependent on other people, whatever it is that kind of manipulates them, we'll probably keep manipulating them. At any stage of life, we can have certain ways of living life and viewing life that kind of manipulates us, that can be common to that. Like back when we were young, we had 15, 18, 21, 25. We had a certain way of living life, certain things we were motivated and inspired by. And some people kind of stay more in that. Even, they could have the emotional maturity level of like a 15-year-old, and they can be 45 or 55 or 65. They could be petty and envious and jealous and bossy and controlling and stubborn or egotistical and self-centered and keep thinking people should indulge them. Or they're just comfortable at a phase of life that other people have lived, and the other people are just ready to move to the next phase of life in a way, and they understand why people are kind of caught up in this phase of life because they were there too. When do Sometimes it can take, the tower can talk about something shocking or abrupt, or it's just like ding, 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 ding. You just like realize how you're kind of repeating a pattern and why you repeat that pattern. Or again, you see someone else is repeating a pattern. And we can go for a long time not wanting to see the truth, and we keep repeating the pattern with them. Even if it's just having a friend that kind of, maybe initially it seemed like it was just and fair, but then over time it seemed like the other person kind of likes, unbeknownst to you, likes to be more indulgent in a relationship, is kind of what these cards can talk about. And then it seems like you're the one putting more of the work and effort to keep the relationship going. And, if you invest in it and put work and effort into it, they'll kind of invest in it too. But like if you were to quit investing in it, you kind of feel like the whole thing would fall apart. And it's like, why am I trying to hold something together where it seems like I'm the one who seems to be more motivated and inspired to put in the work and effort and keep kind of nurturing it, when I kind of feel like if I didn't, I just think it would all drop off. And part of it is because we can be a little more emotionally invested in wanting it to work out than the other person. But if I end up feeling kind of hurt in the relationship and feeling manipulated, why not just let it go, and I'll go invest my time, energy, and effort to invest in finding new people to be in friendship or relationship with. Or I'll focus my time and attention into things that, won't leave me feeling sad. Like there's a return of investment. And if that's my own, the pentacles can be all these different things, but it can be our unique talent, skills, and interests. It can be our hobbies, other things that we enjoy doing in life, and kind of quit investing in things that in turn don't seem to really invest back in us in a more just and fair way. And it could be your job or your career, or just other friendships and relationships that you have. And we kind of, and then also we can kind of see the truth. When I'm not putting in the work and effort, let's see if the other people do. And then they don't. And it's like, okay, well, apparently it was just more one sided. And though I'm sad about that, you know, it is what it is. And take the lessons I learned from it, take the good memories, and let it go. What's coming up for some people who harness some high vibe Cancer energy right now? You could be moving forward. You could have cut out some people that you think in a more shadowy Scorpio, Libra, Taurus energy. Either again, you kind of think they're not who they said they were, or they kind of drove their life off into the ditch, and maybe they're not telling us what's going on. Well, we can only deal with what we know, and if people aren't willing to tell the truth, well, then I wish you peace. But or you thought they were emotionally shallow, superficial, more about themselves, wanting to be indulged, more materialistic, more codependent, wanted you to stay in more codependent energy. It's like the fives can talk about change. I'm not the same person I was before. It doesn't mean I don't want the relationship to keep moving forward. But again, some people, it's like, well, I liked it the way it was. And now if you've changed in some way, or your life circumstances have changed, or you're kind of not the same, or you view life differently than you did before, then we're kind of not on the same page. And I want, they have the free will to want to invest in people who are kind of more on the same page as them. And you're not on that same page anymore. You don't, if you both used to be sad, you've worked through your sadness. If you're both more unstable, you could have worked through some of your instability. If you were more codependent, you're less codependent. If you used to be more fearful, you're less fearful. If you used to be more immature, if you used to be more superficial and shallow, whatever. Or you used to indulge in things more. Well, when one person in a relationship dynamic kind of changes, it changes the whole dynamic. And some people don't want the dynamic to change. They'll just find someone else to play that role in their life, or, because that's how they like to live their life. And they could be sad too, but that is, they could not want to see the truth of what manipulates them, or just aren't willing to detach from a way of living life or viewing life in that phase of life. And other people are, just like, again, when we were 21 to 25, some people were like, why are you guys still living life like this? You should go do this. And this is what I'm doing. And the other people are like, oh, we're not done with this phase of life yet. When we get ready, we might. Who knows? I hope we get there, but maybe we won't. So you work through the regrets. You speak your truth in love, that I wouldn't mind still being friends and hanging out here and there. Maybe not as much as we did, but, I'd still like it to work. But if the other people, it's kind of like, no, if it's not more this way, then no. Okay. So I think you're working with people who could have moved forward with you in this way. Maybe new people you've also met. And, like you, there could be other people that you're working with that have gone through similar life experiences. And in one way, everybody could be kind of shocked but happy that, sometimes when we're used to being around certain type of people who act certain ways or whatever, it was really hard to let go of. But then when we start working with some other people, we could be really surprised at how much we like investing in those people, and even though we still could be sad, it's kind of, as we keep moving forward, we kind of realize this is investing in people who are more aligned with my truth. What do we have coming up for the high vibe people they might not see coming? The Two of Cups. Why? Because of the King of Pentacles and the Page of Swords. So I view the King of Pentacles as Capricorn energy, and shadowy Capricorn energy as the devil. And then Two of Cups, that's Cancer energy. Again, kind of about what we more align with. And the devil looks just like the Lover's card, except that the people are in chains and shackles. And we can have people in our life that, again, want, it's just a kind of more aligned with our more shadowy nature of some sort. Codependency, immaturity, indulgence, ego, conformity, the world. And high vibe people kind of saw the truth and kind of saw through the illusion of it, of making your life more about those things. And also ended up kind of feeling like it wasn't really more driven and motivated by truth and love. And so I view the kings can represent us in our more worldly nature. And it's standing up for ourselves emotionally and our truth. And kind of standing up for our own inner child nature that has hope and faith and belief and love. And I don't want to make my life more about these other things, because I have my inner child, more hopeful, believing, loving nature that if I don't align with it, that will be a missed opportunity. And I will be making my life more about me or these things of the world. So I'm willing to detach from my more worldly nature and other people who want to be in a friendship or relationship with me, more with me being in that worldly nature, because that's not my truth anymore. And I'm aligned with my more loving nature. And I've freed myself from the devil, things that used to more manipulate me. And sometimes that can be where you are kind of maybe weren't willing to stand up for yourself before, had some growing, healing, and maturing to do. You thought maybe you were doing the right thing at one time and thought you were doing the just and fair and mature thing. But if it's not aligned with our truth, from a worldly nature, it could have been more tipped in favor of that. And it's like, it's kind of destabilizing me because I'm really more someone who's more motivated and inspired by love. So I need to do these things within myself, offer truth and love to the people I'm with to see if they want to move forward. Some will, some won't. And if you're already in a relationship or marriage, for those people, and they're both in that energy, they'll probably keep the pages can be like a new energy you kind of created with someone else. And that is, oops, got an alarm on my phone. Um, the people that are already in those kind of friendships and relationships are going to keep defending and standing up for those relationships because they're both on the same page. For people who had to get out of a relationship or a marriage, but the King and Queen of Pentacles, like the Hierophant, can represent all these other institutions of the world too, like jobs and organizations or certain neighborhood, whatever. Um, as they move forward standing up for themselves, there's going to be other people that are kind of aligned with their truth that want to be in friendship or relationship with them. Like, I feel like I can trust you, like I can be more authentically myself because I think you are more authentically yourself, and I don't think you're creating an illusion, and I don't think you're more shadowy or manipulative or bossy or controlling or more motivated by these other reasons. I think, you do work cooperatively with people in a just and fair way and loving way, and don't want to hurt other people, you know, and I think other people will see the truth of it. And there'll always be the other people who it's like, yep, your truth isn't my truth. Nope. And there could be people who would be like, gee, I would like to work with you, or gee, I'd like to be in a relationship with you because that would be great, but you require me to really be who I say I am. And that's not the truth of who I am. So the people who in a more shadowy Libra, Gemini, and Aquarius energy within themselves are still more emotionally invested and caught up in being about themselves or the ego or the image or the indulgence or the materialism. Those people could be sad that they're not in a relationship with you and you're not in a relationship with them, but it's kind of knowing your truth is different, and they'll have to go invest in someone who either hasn't seen the truth of them, because shadowy people, it can be all about trying to create this illusion about who they are, which can be trying to create the illusion they are more emotionally mature and stable and grounded and all that. But for some of them, they're immature, and it is more these other reasons why they want to be in a relationship. And so they'll try to create that illusion with someone else. What's coming up for the people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Cancer energy that they might not see coming? And some of the people you could have communicated with that you thought were more just and fair and motivated and inspired by love, as time goes by and you're kind of like, well, I spoke my truth in love, kind of waiting to give people time to work through, what their truth is and all that. Eventually it's kind of like, okay, well, my intuition is telling me again, it's time to move on, accept the truth. Maybe some people aren't who I thought they were. Maybe some of those people are in more just, fair, stable, grounded, mature relationships, and of course they should defend those. And though I could be sad, some of those people will just be role models in my life, and other people maybe aren't who I thought they were. But I can only invest in my truth, and God knows ultimately the truth of what drives and motivates people, and I don't. And some of the people I don't know well enough or haven't been in connection with enough to know, but God knows, so I trust that, instead of a more worldly, I trust that the divine knows best, and I'm going to align with that and go with the flow. What's coming up for the more shadowy people they don't see coming? The Hierophant and the Strength card. Why? Because of the Three of Cups and the Eight of Cups. So from the 3 to the 8, and the 8 is going to the 9. So the difference in between there is the 5 of Cups and the 6 of Cups. That can talk about reconciling yourself with issues from the past, because the 6 of Cups is in between the 5 of Cups and the 7 of Cups. And that can be about working through our fears and our insecurities and issues of the past to offer love to it so that we can heal from it, make peace with it so we can let it go. But the shadowy people never do that. They never, instead of, they turn their back on seeing the truth of whatever it is that makes them keep repeating this pattern. And so they'll keep repeating that pattern just like we all did until they're willing to see the truth or deal with the truth and realize what they are looking to isn't the answer. That the answer lies within them and working through some of these issues from their past. And coming to a place of peace and like forgiveness about it so that they quit turning their back on their more hopeful, believing, loving nature. Or being in still more codependent energy and learning to love themselves so they get out of more codependent energy. But their philosophy of life can be, I don't have to do that. Kind of a philosophy of life of operating more from their pride and ego. I don't have to do that. It's like, that's right, you don't have to do that. But other people do. And so the more high vibrational people in their life are going to move on from them. And they'll probably be in their ego about it. And some of them could be in their ego about it because in Taurus of the Hierophant and the Leo Strength card, they could feel, I have put in a lot of work and effort, whether they're male or female, I have put a lot of work and effort maybe to have a certain status, image, social clout, physique, look a certain way, my education, my background, whatever. And they think because of that, because they kind of thought that was what would draw and attract people to being in a relationship with them, and that because of those reasons, people would want to keep staying in a relationship with them. They're really kind of caught up in the illusion of those things, and those things are kind of how they define their worth and value. And then because they're kind of caught up in the illusion, they think other people should be caught up in the illusion of those things. And people can, we see people, the pentacles can be, and Taurus, which is also pentacle energy, we see people who look a certain way, act a certain way, present themselves in a certain way. And they seem like people who look very stable and grounded and insightful and mature and all these things. That, yeah, people are going to invest in them because they don't look like a complete slug, And we're kind of looking for people who seem like they've put in work and effort to emotionally grow and mature themselves and have stability and all those good things. The only problem is some high vibe people get in a relationship with them and they think they really are who they say they are. But some people, it's more, again, more driven by their ego and think you should want to work together with me and indulge me in a relationship. And that is a shadowy Taurus relationship. Whoever seems to have more of these things of the world that people want, they should be the more privileged, indulged person in the relationship. Well, that's not truth and love and justice and fairness. It isn't about, and that's shadowy Empress, male or female, where someone emotionally is kind of caught up in this illusion that because of something about them, they kind of think they should be kind of the more privileged, indulged person in the relationship. And that they really don't have to work through some of these things that they might do that might be kind of immature and disruptive and hurtful. And other people can get caught up in the illusion of them, and it can be shocking and like, my gosh, why did they act like that? And why are they behaving like that? And that's not who I thought they were, and that's a surprise. But, because people maybe don't want to give up on people right away, it's like, well, I don't know what's going on. I'll try to keep working with this person. But there can come a time, especially if it kind of keeps happening over and over, that eventually people see the truth. I can't keep investing in this. There's something going on at a core foundational level within someone, or how they view life, or kind of, that they somehow rationalize as being just and fair. And I do not. And that's when some people walk away. And there's always going to probably be people in their life that are like, agree with them and live their life that way too. And if it's just more about being in a relationship, creating the illusion it's love, but we don't really do love. It's just trying to quack like love and act like love and dress like love and talk like love, but we really don't do love. We get hurt doing love. And so it's just this illusion of love. And the more high vibrational people in their life kind of eventually see through the illusion, that I don't think you're ultimately driven and motivated by love. I think it's all these other reasons of more why you get in a relationship and want to stay in a relationship and think other people should stay in a relationship with you. And the Eight of Cups walks away from the Seven of Cups. This is like the illusion of love, and I'm going to love myself enough to become independent of this situation. I'm inspired to put in work and effort to work through my own fears and insecurities about letting this go, job, friendship, or relationship. And instead of continuing to invest in that, I'm letting go of investing in that with the One Pentacle, dropping that. And then from the Seven down to the One Pentacle is letting go of the Six of Pentacles, which is also Taurus energy. Their philosophy of life is different. Their truth is different. And I'm not going to keep exchanging time, energy, and resources with those people. And that is people who see through the illusion, see the truth, are willing to deal with the regrets, to invest in themselves and stand up for themselves and stand up for truth and love. And the shadowy people will be in their ego. Why won't those people stay? I have all these things, or I look this certain way. Why are they going with those other people? And a King of Pentacles could have less status or image, it seems like, than a Hierophant. But people would rather be in a, it's like willing to give up some of these things of the world to be in relationship with people who really are who they say they are. And maybe if it was a job, maybe that job had more prestige or whatever, or more money. I would rather give up some of those things to work with people who work with me in a more emotionally mature, supportive, and encouraging way than people who are maybe more stubborn or bossy or controlling. High vibe people are kind of willing to give up more of those things of the world to have a more balanced life. And high vibe energy is about balance. That's when you move forward victoriously and successfully, tipped in favor of making decisions more from love and listening to their intuition. And the other people were kind of the opposite. It's like, well, I could invest in this, and that might be more aligned with my truth, and I might like that better, and I might love that better. But this has more image or status, or those people would make it more about me or whatever. And they're willing to sacrifice more loving things for the things of the world. And the other people are willing to sacrifice things of the world for love, for it to be more aligned with truth and love. And everybody could be sad, but as more high vibrational people leave their life, there'll be other people who buy into the illusion, and then it's up for the next people who get in that job, friendship, or relationship to decide if that's their truth or not. What are you willing to sacrifice? What's more important? And if those people are like, you know what, I have fear of becoming independent of this. I'm afraid of, I would then have to invest in loving myself and give myself the things that I wish other people would have given me, or I'm afraid of something, I don't know, they might stay in it. And that's their free will choice. What truth are people willing to let go of? But I think ultimately, the main people in their life, if they're more worldly and shadowy, is going to be other people who are more worldly and shadowy. That doesn't mean everybody in their life, but it's more about let's make our life operating more from our worldly egoic nature. I think eventually they would feel like it's not that emotionally fulfilling. They just haven't learned those lessons yet, but other people have. Things are things, ego and image and status, really. And even though some of them eventually might want to walk away from it because it is kind of emotionally unfulfilling and they thought for sure that would make them happy, because of their ego, and they kind of give in and indulge their more immature nature, and they keep thinking, no, 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 love isn't the answer, or I couldn't love myself, I need someone else to love me, or I need those things, whatever. They're probably going to keep aligning with that because that's kind of their truth. And as they could keep doing certain things, other people in their life who thought they were more just, fair, stable, eventually people kind of see through the illusion. And they could have thought, some people, that people would never kind of see through the illusion. They'd always view them as a certain type of person, even though they do things that seem to be contradictory to that truth that they try to project. But eventually, you can't keep not, even though you could have at one time put in a lot of work and effort to present yourself a certain way, if you're trying to keep presenting that to the world, but people see you kind of doing these other things that seem to be contradictory to that truth, eventually people are like, I don't think you are who you say you are. I think you are more about you, or ego, or image, or more immature, or like to be in more codependent relationships where maybe you're like could even like to be in relationships with people who are more immature or fearful or unstable, because that makes you look like you're the more mature, stable one. But I don't think you ever get in relationships with people where it challenges you to kind of grow and heal and mature yourself. So it's always to get in relationships with other people who you think need to change, but never getting in relationships that challenge you to continue to keep growing and maturing yourself. And it is hard to change. And some people are like, well, I think the way I live my life, there could be things I could change and I could work through, but I don't think I have to. And so they could think, I'll just keep getting in relationships with people who might be more, don't know the truth about who I am, are confused about the truth of who I am. I'll get those people to get in a relationship with me, and I'll be happy that it is the way it is. And if those people ever work through some of their issues and grow and mature themselves, and then they want me to work through my issues, it'll be another relationship I get out of, and I'll go find someone else and I'll repeat this pattern again. If you want to work through your issues, fine. If you want me to work through mine, no. If you want it to maybe be a more just and fair relationship, no. If you want me to really be more authentically who I am, no. If you want me to free myself from my defensive ego nature, no. If you want me to become more independent of my more worldly egoic nature, no. And other people have seen the truth and they have no interest. They do not view that person the way they used to. They have seen through the illusion and seen the truth of who they are. So then those people will go try to create that illusion with someone else. And if those people decide, hey, this works for me, then hey, to each your own. And that wasn't my truth. I couldn't stay in it. But, if that's your truth, enjoy. But you are giving birth to a new beginning. You repeated the pattern enough times. I don't want to repeat this pattern. And that's what some people didn't know about you. You are someone who is more aligned with your hopeful, believing, loving nature and more, maybe not initially, but as time went by, you could have gotten more balance within yourself and learned to love yourself. And now you're going to give birth to something new. And they're going to watch you go to like the next level of the video game of life. And while you go to face obstacles and fears at overcoming and mastering the next level of life, they're going to go back and repeat this pattern. Because you have to be willing to speak the truth, be authentic. You can try to wear a false mask, and that's what some people always try to do too. It's always trying to create the illusion. Oh no, I'm not that type of person. Oh no, I'm grown and healed and matured. Oh no, I'm not these things, blah, blah, blah. And they try to present themselves as being kind of more emotionally mature or something than they are, and they fall through the hole and drop down a level, if not sometimes all the way back down to the bottom, and have to work their way all the way up, just like some of us had to do. The harder we don't want to see the truth, the harder the you know, the more disruption we're going to keep having in our life. And we keep saying, damn, that didn't work. Let's try it this way then. No, let's try it this way. No, let's try it that way. Maybe get a different person. Maybe go get a different job. Go find a different friend. But they never want to see the truth within them that makes them keep maybe being drawn and attracted to even certain people. Or that if they have a certain way of living life or viewing life, it doesn't quite turn out the way they want. At what point are they willing to see the truth? And again, the only person I can change is me. And if I have a certain type of person I'm attracted to, I need to figure out, that's why I have Virgo, I need to figure out why I'm attracted to people like that, because it doesn't work out. And it can just be sometimes people are loving people, but I tried to change other people. I'm done trying to change other people. If other people are still more immature, more defensive, more superficial, more shallow, more prideful, more egotistical, I'm going to wish you peace. I'm going to keep my distance. And I'm going to wait to meet people who are more on the same page as me. Because that's maybe what the problem is. It's like, say, the emotional maturity level of a 30-year-old versus a 20-year-old, even though you could both be 50, I can't build something like at a 30-year-old emotional maturity level if I'm working with someone who has a 20-year-old emotional maturity level. There's just all those differences in life experiences. If I'm looking to build that, I need to be working with people who are in that energy. Quit hoping one day people will change or grow and mature themselves. Let them be. Go find people who are more on that same page already. And some people are doing that, and some people are having these new beginnings, and it could shock some people because they didn't think you were more independent. They didn't think you'd get out of more codependent energy or stand up for yourself or more love and believe in yourself. And you're shocking some people. And some people are like, wow, why didn't I do that? Why do I keep doing what I do? And some other people will be inspired to follow your lead. Some other people won't. You're going to keep investing in your truth, and whoever's on kind of seems to align with that. Hey, the pages we'll get to know each other and we'll be friends. But if my intuition tells me you're more shadowy, damn, would have been nice, but no thanks. And then that can be a tower tower moment for some of those people. It's like, what? I look this way or act this way or whatever. Why? Because like I've already been. My intuition is telling me that you're more about these things. I've already been there and done that. If that's the how you view life and want to live life, you need to get in a relationship with someone who kind of views life and lives life like that too. Because I've already been there and done that, and I'm doing something different. So, there you go, Cancer. I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.